The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.
Tonight on The Agenda.
Often with the media, it works if you just doggedly stick to your message. That's what ends up on the air because that's all they have to work with and that's all they can use. But you do get these situations where they'll call you out on it, and a minister's not going to feel comfortable. She's not going to look confident. She's not going to be able to be human and relatable if she is being asked to do something that's really impossible, and everybody's in the room is going to know it's not going well.
How often have you watched a politician hold a news conference, make some lofty, wonderful announcement, then take questions from reporters and totally ignore all the questions? We see it all the time. Overcoached ministers giving rote answers that are totally unresponsive to what's being asked. It's annoying. Why do they do it? Do they know how ridiculous it looks? But does it work? We've got 4 guests ready to dive in on this with experience on all sides of the issue. Let's welcome, in Grand Bend, Ontario, Jennifer Mossop, former news anchor, former MPP, who now runs Mossop Media. And here in our studio, Will Stewart, former Progressive Conservative staffer, now Senior Vice President with Enterprise Canada. Aaron Morrison, longtime NDP strategist, now running Morrison Comms Inc. And Jessica Smith-Cross, Editor-in-Chief of The Trillium, a digital news service covering Queen's Park, and it's really good. And we thank everybody for coming here to TVO tonight. Jennifer, great to see you on the line from Grand Bend. And I'm going to start with you. Okay, when you are advising a client on how to deliver a message to the media, or when you yourself were in politics as an MPP and doing a press conference, for example, what's the key piece of information that you either send people out or got sent out that you think is helpful to them as they negotiate those rough waters of a news conference?
So probably 4 fast things off the top. It's not about the surly reporter. It's about the audience, and keep them in mind. It is all about the space and time you have to fill, and about the headline these days, because we're all scrolling through millions of them. So get to that headline right away. And if you are asked an unwanted question, then address it briefly and get back to the job at hand, which is filling that space and time with what you came to tell people.
Will, how does that sound to you?
I mean, it's relevant, right? It's bang on. I think, what we're talking about here is a policy announcement. And I think at that point, it depends on what the policy is, right? If it's heavily controversial, you're sending your minister out with different advice. But on a regular funding announcement like this, that, led to your article on this space, it's really about reminding them to communicate effectively, to communicate directly, to be human. I worked for a politician that was very excitable. So one of my last pieces of advice for him was always calm down. Think of you're talking to your grandmother. Get focused on that image in your head so you can communicate to that grandmother on the other side of the television camera.
Who is the politician?
John Baird. Yeah.
John Baird.
Very excitable. I think I could say that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Aaron, what would you add to that so far?
One of the last things I tell politicians right before a news conference is, what's our tone today? What's the tone we're going out with? Are we excited? Are we calm? Are we worried? Are we scared? How do people feel? And can you reflect back their feelings towards them? If they know the topic at hand, if they know how to answer the questions, then that should be on their mind going out. What's my tone?
When you are at a press conference at Queen's Park and you ask a question, or anybody does for that matter, and the minister is obviously obfuscating, trying really hard to, what Jennifer suggested, be responsive and then pivot to something else. What are you thinking at that moment?
Can I shake them off it, or am I not going to be able to? And with some ministers, you have no hope. Like, I'll give an example, name names if that's
sure.
Okay. The finance minister, Peter Bethlenfalvy, he's very hard to shake. So when he does the same thing that Minister Dunlop did and take your question and answer something else, you're not going to get him off it. But he also doesn't look scared or uncertain. He does it with authority, and you just sort of give up and move on.
Well, okay, you've just referenced Minister Dunlop, and that's what I presume you were referring to, Will, in your first answer. So that's a bit of the inspiration for this program here, is that several weeks ago, the Colleges and Universities Minister, Jill Dunlop, who, let me say for the record, is a lovely person, is a good person, but who went into the media studio that day and did not have a great day. Here was the first question that she was asked and her response. Sheldon, please.
Yes or no, do you disagree with the federal government's decision to cap international students?
Well, thank you very much for the question. And absolutely, the decision was made by the federal government. It was a unilateral decision with absolutely no consultation with the provinces or the sector.
That's not an answer.
Now, reporters don't, I have to say, I don't think we usually do that, where we actually say to the minister in question, that's not an answer. That's a little cheeky. But okay, Jennifer, you're advising the minister in that case, let's say, and she gives what is quite obviously a completely unresponsive answer to the question. What's your advice at that point?
Advice to the minister for having given that answer?
Exactly.
It's a little hard to advise them when they're live in the situation, right? So they're on their own. Once they're up there, they're on their own. But the reason why they do it is because so often it works. And that was the point that was just made, is that sometimes they give up. If you just doggedly continue to stick to that message. Going back to the other point that was made about policy is really, if you're bringing your communications team in early in the policy development, then you're going to actually troubleshoot a lot of these policy issues or funding announcement issues by having your team in place and saying, you know what, you might want to modify something and you'll end up with a better policy and a better rollout. But sometimes you do have to really try to address the question, albeit briefly, because often it's an opposition agenda question maybe that's being put to you and you don't want to engage in the opposition agenda for your few seconds of fame there. Mm-hmm. So just address it, have a way to address that question meaningfully and move on quickly back to what you want to say.
Yeah, Will, let me follow up with you on that. I mean, it was pretty obvious that she was coached, that if you are asked A, B, and C, make sure you don't answer A, B, and C, just pivot to X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Now, is that useful advice to give a minister?
So look, I'll answer that two ways. One, I think anytime you're doing any type of public communications, you need to sound like a human. You need to be relatable. You need to be approachable, and it helps if you have some empathy. I think that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is, though, frankly, she probably has been coached. The minister has been coached. I mean, I do this type of coaching. And it's also a product of the way in which this press conference will be covered. Knowing full well that whatever she says is going to be clipped for the evening news at about 10 seconds. So if she just keeps saying the same thing over and over again, she knows what's going to be on the clip that evening. There's very few long-form public policy shows like The Agenda where you can actually have that fulsome discussion about all of the back and forth. That doesn't make it right, but I can see how you get to that point in the minister's, to give the minister a little bit of defense here. Yeah.
If, Aaron, you were watching that press conference live on, let's say, an all-news channel, or if you're a real Queen's Park keener, on the legislative feed or something, you would have seen a minister in trouble. Do you, as a communications advisor, worry about live in the moment, or is it all about the clips on the news at the end of the day?
You have to think about both. Will's absolutely right. You do tell your politician, it's a 10-second clip. This is the 10-second clip we want, so make sure you're saying it lots of times in lots of different ways. But you do worry. In the moment, if you have media who are not buying what you're selling, if they don't like what you're saying, and more so they're getting annoyed, now you have to go into damage control mode. That's when Queen's Park staffers will spend the rest of the afternoon running around, visiting journalists in their offices, maybe handing out statements to try to make up for what she said, answering questions that they didn't get answers to. And that is bad news. It's bad news for what's going to happen in between that minister and the press gallery for weeks to come.
Mm-hmm. Did you have somebody at that announcement? I imagine you did.
We did, yeah. Aidan was there for us.
Aidan was there, okay. And when he got back to the shop and you guys talked about how you wanted to handle it, was there any kind of discussion about it?
So we had two options. We could have just said, okay, we'll take the clip and use it and move on. We had tons of voices from the sector saying why this was a problem. The whole issue was she was announcing funding for post-secondary education, and it was like $2 billion less than her own panel had recommended.
Yes.
She didn't have an answer for that. She didn't have an answer for the questions about how Ontario got to this place with international students, which was one of the things the reporters were trying to get her to say something, sort of anything at all about. So we ended up sort of mostly ignoring her and giving a voice to all of her critics. He could have been a little bit spicier and said, the minister had no answer when asked if colleges would be able to stay afloat with this level of funding, which is true. She was asked that question, is this enough? And she gave an incomprehensible answer.
So, Jennifer, let me follow up with you on that, because the minister clearly had marching orders to go out there and, I'll be a little colloquial here, put lipstick on a pig, right? She's got a panel that's recommending X investment into the post-secondary sector, and she has to announce that it's going to be X divided by 2. So she knows everybody's going to be upset with her. What advice do you give a minister to go out there knowing that she has to deliver bad news but wants it to look good?
I would tell that minister to make sure her communications team has armed her well before she goes out there. She needs to have the answer. And I would say, all right, we have a problem here. We need to have an answer. We need to be able to address this, because you can't just often with the media, it works if you just doggedly stick to your message. That's what ends up on the air, because that's all they have to work with and that's all they can use. But you do get these situations where they'll call you out on it, and a minister's not going to feel comfortable. She's not going to look confident. She's not going to be able to be human and relatable if she is being asked to do something that's really impossible, and everybody's in the room is going to know it's not going well. So that's where the minister really does have to demand, hey, we have to have something better to offer here. We have to have an.
I'm going to pick up on that, human and relatable, because I know Minister Dunlop was trying to be human and relatable when she politely thanked reporters every time when they asked a question. Sheldon, Mr. Director, if you would, top of page 3, let's roll this clip.
Thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for the question. Well, thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for that question. Well, thank you very much for the question. Well, thank you for the question on international students. Thank you very much for the question. Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for the question, and thank you very much for the question. Thank you for the question. Thank you for that question. Well, schools are autonomous. Thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for the question.
Okay, let's fess up. That's a little smart-assy on our part to do that, and it looks worse when you edit it all back to back to back. But we did not use the same statement twice. She actually said it that many times. Erin, is that a good idea?
No, it's not. She said it every time, and I love when she started to answer and then realized she forgot to say it, and she backed up and she was like, oh, right, thank you very much for the question. She's very clearly been coached to say it. We're going to start every question this way. I think sometimes that might come from inexperience, a communications or media person telling her, well, this is a good way to start your answers. It's not. And I think it may just come from discomfort. She's deciding for herself, I need to control the pace of this press conference. I need to be in charge of how to start my answer, and I need to give myself enough thinking room before I launch, and this is how I'm going to do it. It's a terrible idea. It makes you sound like a broken record. I mean, post-COVID, every press conference is live. It's on the 24-hour news channels. You can find them all on YouTube. So we do see them as a whole now. And it is not flattering. It is not flattering to continue to repeat yourself. And journalists get annoyed by it.
Well, let's find out. Do you feel when a minister says to you, thank you very much for the question, do you inside think to yourself, wow, they're grateful for my question. Isn't that lovely?
Well, no, especially not when it's routine and it's every question. It seems kind of patronizing, and it doesn't make you feel good about your question.
So, Will, what happened there?
Well, I mean, she was overcoached by the looks of it. That you can tell when someone is repeating their lines, just like a stage actor, they're repeating their lines. They're playing the role of a cabinet minister in a press conference announcing money. And what you really need to focus on when you're coaching these individuals, coaching CEOs or coaching politicians, is how to let them be authentic in their own voice. One of the tools and tricks to avoid what we just saw in your clip there is, I advise clients to keep a little sheet beside them. Just 10 different ways to change the subject, 10 different ways to start a conversation, 10 different ways to maybe pivot slightly. And that's what's more authentic, right? Saying thank you for the question, you're not really thanking someone for the question. No. I see that when we have speakers too. It's like, thank you for those wonderful remarks. Well, that's how no one speaks. Thank you for those wonderful remarks. It's in emotion, it's in delivery, and it's in being a human. And that, unfortunately, was not very humanistic. Yeah.
Speaking of being a human, I have a lot of empathy for her here.
Yeah.
She's not a very experienced minister. I think this was the first time she really faced the media in such an aggressive way. You can tell that she was nervous. I get nervous when I face the cameras. I'm a print person, so that came through. But it also meant that it looked like she didn't know what she was saying. Because she was nervous, it wasn't delivered with confidence. It didn't look like she had an answer to give.
Jennifer, I presume, though, that if you're the Premier's office and you've got a rookie minister that you need to send out there to deliver some bad news, there's a way to prepare the minister for doing that in a way that's different from sending a veteran out there who knows what they're doing, right? Is it pretty apparent that they didn't do that this time?
It's hard to say. She definitely looked nervous, and I think that's an important point, is that it is nerve-wracking going into the ring with the media. People would rather have root canal than actually do one of these. I know that because I've been on both sides of the microphone. I was a reporter. I know what kinds of things that they can do and what kinds of questions they can ask and how they can set you up. And my first interview when it was announced that I was running for politics, I knew it was going to be a story. And the first interview that came in, it was Drive Home Radio. And I got on the line with the reporter and I was worried about what questions they were going to be asking. I'd been working at the CBC. My heads were in international news, not really provincial news. So I said, how long do we have? And he said, well, we're going to go about 3 minutes. I said, okay. And he asked the first question and I talked for 3 minutes. I did not draw a breath. One more question in there. It's like, no, because even in the question, they can suggest something. And that was another point that was made, is that you usually don't hear the questions, but now you do because you can see the whole news conference. But without hearing those questions, they can be putting words in your mouth. They can be very surly and aggressive and throw you off your game. So it is scary stuff. So you do need some good coaching. You need to be grounded in who you are. You need to be grounded in what you're delivering. And sometimes you may not be 1,000% behind it, but you need to find that space within yourself that says, this is actually okay. We're doing this for the right reason, and get yourself grounded in that and be able to move forward.
Aaron, Jennifer has raised a good point, which is the issue of filibusters. Do you purposely send ministers, MPPs, clients out there to filibuster?
Jennifer's experience is everyone's experience. Their first interview, you have to pull them aside after a bit and say, okay, we practiced 90-second answers. Your first answer was 4.5 minutes. That's not great. That's not a clip. They can't put that on the news. So you do work on shorter answers. You work on tighter answers. There is a little trick where if you really love the question, it's a good opportunity to tell your story. And if you really don't like the question, it's a good opportunity to answer it quickly, pivot onto something else, and get onto a different topic.
Do you send them out there to filibuster?
Well, it depends on what we're doing. Press conferences generally don't have a timeline. So filibustering is not going to help you very much. Your show has a timeline. We could keep talking and talking, and eventually you would cut us off probably to get to the next question. But when I'm getting clients ready for committee hearings, when there is a very structured process of how many minutes you're allowed to talk, if they ask you what time it is, take 7 minutes to tell them what time it is. Because that's a very structured environment. So I think, we always say in public speaking, know your audience, but in this case, also know your medium, right? Is it television? Is it long form radio? Is it a quick committee hit? Because all of those things can be used to generate stories, to be used to generate and push your ideas. But they should be handled in vastly different ways.
Jennifer, Jessica, this may be a good time to sort of get on the record what I suspect a lot of people believe about reporters who do their jobs in circumstances like this, which is, I think they assume that you go in there with a hostile attitude to whoever is behind the podium with a view to tripping them up and embarrassing them. Is that in fact the case?
To some extent, yes. I do feel like it is our job to ask the questions where the holes are. They get to speak off the top and say what they want to say. What did they not say? What are the questions they haven't answered yet? What are the weak points? Like, we wouldn't be doing our job if we weren't going to poke a little bit. But that doesn't mean, like, taking people out of context. That's never the goal. That's never done on purpose, at least not from us, right? If that happens, it's because what they were saying wasn't clear and we thought they meant this. And, that kind of we're fair play.
Okay, you say we're fair play. But as we showed earlier, in Minister Dunlop's first answer, some reporter piped up, that's not an answer.
Well, it's true. It wasn't an answer. She didn't answer the question. I think he's doing his job. That was Alan Hale. He's doing his job by pointing out that she hasn't answered. Can she please try again to address the question, because the question's an important one.
Jennifer Mossop, let me ask what may sound like a completely ridiculous question, but I'll try it anyway. It wouldn't be the first time. Would it be so terrible if, when a politician were asked a simple, direct question, they gave a simple, direct answer?
It would not be terrible. And it would be even better if it turns into a more authentic conversation where the media doesn't feel like it has to go in hostile and trying to find the tiniest hole and rip it wide open. And the answers can be more authentic. I think what's happening, and it's a real disservice, and it's happening globally, is that we are having such conversations that are polarized, that are almost theater. And as a result, people are becoming very disillusioned. They're becoming disillusioned about government, politicians, and also about the media. And the polarizations that happening with these short soundbite messages with a little emotional tug in them, they get repeated and repeated, and we're all kind of swimming in our AI fueled algorithms, and we're becoming very polarized, and we're not getting much meat. We're scrolling through these sound bites, headlines all day long. Very few of us are reading the full articles. Very seldom are conversations like this had where you try to tease that out. I don't know that I have a solution for how we can bring these two sides together, but both the media and politicians are losing out. We're our own worst enemies on this one.
Well said, and Will, I want to go to you on that as well and get your take on this, because my sense is that the public so tunes out so much of what your clients say and so much of the work that we try to do because they just see the inauthenticity of all of it. They see rote answers, they see gotcha questions. Can we not do anything about that?
Yeah, I think we do, right? And it's incumbent upon these politicians and us as trainers of politicians, if that's what we are, is to talk about being authentic. At the end of the day, their message is going to cut through better if people believe them as a human, if they've got a personal story that can go with it, if they don't repeat the same words over and over and over again, if they have a conversation with folks. And, I look at Doug Ford on these things, and, probably not a media darling to be raising in this discussion, but when he's getting battered at the podium, which he has been battered a lot of times, he frequently goes to, look, guys, I don't know about this. Like, tell me the information, right? Like, I'm just like you on this. We want to make everybody happy. And that disarms folks a little bit for now. Chris Stockwell, former Speaker of the Legislature, former minister before that, was very much the same. He always used to say, look, guys, I'm from Missouri on this. Show me what you're talking about, and I'll take a look at it again. And I think that we've lost a lot of that. We've lost the ability for people to simply say, you know what, maybe we got it wrong. We've lost the ability to backtrack on things. And frankly, as a political staffer, I would never encourage backtracking. But in our everyday lives, we change our minds, right? And I think that lack of authenticity is really makes it hard for people to follow the news and support anybody because they can't identify with anybody.
Jessica, I think one of the biggest changes I've seen is that we now have a premier who has very strict rules when he is behind the microphone. One question, one follow-up, and out you go. And I can remember going, every premier from Bill Davis to probably Kathleen Wynne, those premiers found themselves in scrums with reporters with microphones in their faces, asking question, follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. That doesn't happen with Doug Ford. Is that a problem?
Yes and no. He did 2 scrums at Queen's Park over the past couple of weeks. It hadn't been happening very much, but we found him inside like an event and waited for him to come. The press secretary said, okay, we're going to do this, ask your questions, and we did it. And he can hold his own. And when they give us that sort of respect, like we're going to have him out here, he's going to take the questions, we're not as rabid. Like when there's all of that control, when we're getting all those lines that seem kind of like an insult to our intelligence, reporters get angrier, they ask harder questions. If you do have someone who's saying, okay, I'll come, I'll talk, I'll lay it out as best as I can, we tend to be equally as respectful in our questions.
See, I remember, because you're a New Democrat, or you used to work for the New Democrats, I'll harken back to Bob Rae. When Bob Rae was premier, this is back in the early 1990s, that poor guy got some brutal scrums where he would stand there and take question after question, and it was not Marcus of Queensbury rules. It was tough stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it probably made him better, and it certainly made us better. Yeah. We don't do that hardly ever anymore. Is that a problem?
It is a problem, and I think first of all, back in the day, for much of my career, the premier of the day in every province across the country typically did a press conference every Thursday for 30 minutes or whatever. Just come, ask me anything. We've really lost that. And also, on the other hand, it's not just, am I going to be accessible to media? Are we going to say one question, one follow-up, then back of the line, it's 21 minutes, and then we're cutting it off? It's also, calling the media the lamestream media, or campaigning and saying we're just going to do our stuff on TikTok and Instagram and we're not going to talk to the press. Talking about no particular politician in particular here, there's been a trend towards that, towards saying the media is wrong, the media is the enemy. And we need to see mutual respect between politicians and media if we want to go back to the days of long, meandering, very productive press conferences.
Well, Will, I remember it was a few weeks back. I went to Mississauga, I think it was on a Sunday, just to see a Pierre Poilievre event. And after the event was over, he took questions from the media, and it was one question, no follow-up, and no going to the back of the line to coming back. That was it. Now, is that any way to run a railroad, do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think it is. I mean, look, everybody has a job in these items. I think the politician definitely has a job to be a human, but by the same token, the politician doesn't want to sit and debate a reporter at a live microphone when the reporter can ask any number of issues from anywhere in the world on any policy matter. And if you don't have a robust, well thought out answer, you're going to be criticized for being a policy lightweight. So I do think that there are roles to be played on all sides of this. But I do think as well, you know, you mentioned Bob Rae and the crucible of the scrums. I think that makes you a better communicator. I think that makes you a better leader, and I think that makes you better at what we're discussing today. But that is very, very, very high risk for that politician, and by extension, with Bob Rae, for that government. The times have also changed, though, too. When Bob Rae was doing those scrums, that was the one opportunity reporters had to get answers, and that was the one opportunity a politician had to communicate items. Now we've got social media channels, we've got 24-hour news, and long gone are my clips on the Monday, on the morning from the newspapers the next morning, seeing how the scrum went. I know how that scrum went within half an hour when people start tweeting about it. So the entire ecosystem has changed, too, so we shouldn't be surprised that the way in which people communicate in that ecosystem has changed too.
A couple of minutes left here, and Jennifer, let me go to you on this. I mean, as soon as that day, if we go back to the Minister Dunlop news conference, as soon as that day was done, I did check out how the evening news on a variety of channels played it out. I did check out Trillium. I checked out other news sources. I went to the legacy media. Nobody gave her a hard time. Everybody actually just reported the clip that she wanted, that she said over and over and over. And nobody, I think maybe except for me, I wrote a column the next day, did the whole anatomy of a disastrous news conference thing. Does that suggest, oh God, I hope it doesn't, but I suspect it does. Does that suggest that we're just going to see a lot more of this kind of thing because they know at the end of the day, it works?
It works. That's not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last time it happens. Maybe your article was the first time somebody actually called it out with such detail. But the thing is, if you go back, and this is not something new, in the late 1800s, Gustave Le Bon wrote a book called The Crowd, A Study of the Popular Mind. And he said there are 3 steps to creating a current of opinion. First, it's affirmation, which is our term for message. The second is without reason, which is our emotion. And the third is repeat, repeat, repeat. And then you get a current of opinion. That's 1896.
Oh my gosh. How many other shows would Gustave, what was his last name, be quoted on? That's amazing. There we go. Thank you. That's Jennifer Mossop, the former Liberal MPP. Now with Mossop Media, we also have here in our studio, oh, you got the whole shot up there. Very good. Will Stewart, Enterprise Canada, Jessica Smith-Cross from the Trillium.ca, Erin Morrison with her own communications consulting company now. What's it called again? Morrison Comms? There we go. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here on TVO tonight. That was grand.
Now, in another installment of our Living History series, contributor Warren Schlote visits the site of the Horseshoe Hill train crash of 1907, which led to Orangeville's first hospital.
7 people died right here near the start of the 20th century. I'm at Horseshoe Hill near Caledon, Ontario, the site of one of the worst railway tragedies this area has ever seen. It affected countless families across the province, but there was some good that came out of it too. The crash showed the need for better health care in the region, and it pushed people to take action. Welcome to the Toronto Grey and Bruce Railway's Horseshoe Curve. It was September 3rd, 1907. The day's passenger run started here in Markdale, Ontario, near where the former station once stood. This was a special run to take passengers to the Toronto Industrial Exhibition, that's known as the Canadian National Exhibition, in 2023. This line has TG&B heritage, but it had merged with the Canadian Pacific Railway some 24 years earlier. After the first few stops, the train was already quite full, and it was falling behind schedule. Some passengers felt the crew was running fast to make up time. They called the speed excessive and said it was the fastest train they'd taken. That was enough to make some people abandon their trips altogether. One crash survivor later said, quote, "I know 2 men who got off at Orangeville because they thought the train would come to grief," unquote. Here in Orangeville, the railway added 3 extra coaches to help handle the load. At one point, there were about 600 people on board. It took the train just 15 minutes to get from here to Caledon, the last station before it faced the Niagara Escarpment. In the world of railways, major curves aren't ideal. They can require more maintenance, and trains have to slow down to get around them safely. But when the TG&B came to Caledon, major curves were the only option. From the top to the bottom of the horseshoe, the track drops about 85 feet. If that were a straight line, it would be a grade of about 6.5%, which is just too much for trains to handle. Adding the horseshoe curve brought the grade down to about 2%. That's still considered mountain grade and is very difficult to run on, especially when you add on a horseshoe curve. But expert railroaders can generally handle those slopes. The engineer, George Hodge, had some experience, but he was far from a veteran. In fact, this was only the second time he had ever run a passenger train. Hodge said he put on the brakes a quarter mile before the crash, but with a heavy train and a steep hill, that's simply not enough time. The speed limit on the curve was 25 miles per hour, but track workers in the area said the train was going much faster than that. Some passengers would later say it felt like the train was going 55 miles per hour when it crashed. When the track workers saw the train coming at speed, they quickly jumped to the other side of the fence, getting farther away from the tracks. At 9:35 a.m., the train entered the curve, and physics took over. The steam locomotive rolled into the ditch. Its cab came clean off its frame. The last few cars on the train stayed upright, but the ones closer to the front, well, the passengers there weren't so lucky. The first car behind the locomotive had essentially turned to splinters. Some people who were riding in that car would later say they have no idea how they made it out alive. 6 people died in the crash, and 1 more died later in hospital. The youngest was a boy, just entering his teens. The passengers who survived had to act as first responders. They pulled other people from the crushed coaches and tried to help them as best they could. The train wrecked near farmer Alex McLeish's property. This was his farmhouse. He and his neighbor George Baxter started offering any help they could.
My name is Phil Lamoureux. I reside here in the former Alex McLeish homestead. The locomotive came to rest directly across the road. All the neighbors came and lended their help with axes because they had to cut the passengers out of the wood coaches. They sent a fast horse with a young man to Caledon village to telegraph in for help to come down to the wreckage, as all the telegraph poles were taken out at the time of the incident.
Help arrived from Caledon within about 20 minutes. All told, the crash had hurt 114 people. The injuries included burns, broken bones, and internal injuries. Someone even lost an ear. Still, many more had to be treated for shock. The scene was chaotic. A train would later come and take the most seriously injured people to a hospital in Toronto. Soon after, the investigations began. In mid-September, a coroner's jury looked into the crash. Several passengers testified that the train had been traveling much too fast. Hodge, the engineer, and conductor Matthew Grimes said they had not been speeding. Hodge said there was a brake shoe missing from the locomotive after the wreck, and that the locomotive often felt like it wanted to roll over at the best of times. A jury found that Hodge and Grimes had caused a passenger's death by speeding, and that they and the railway were criminally negligent in the crash. A criminal trial would later find the 2 men not guilty. This was far from the only incident at the Horseshoe Curve, according to railway historian Carl Riff. He has a news article collection that lists several mishaps on this stretch of track, including derailments and runaways on this very curve. But Riff perhaps summed it up best when he wrote, quote, "Lots of incidents on the Horseshoe Curve. I don't list them all," unquote. The Horseshoe Hill disaster had badly shaken the counties of Caledon and Dufferin. With such a full train and the tight connections in rural communities, many families would have known at least one person who was on board. The tragedy showed the lack of emergency medical care in the area. People would have to spend at least a half a day traveling to get to the nearest hospital, and for the most severe cases, Toronto was more than double that distance. A group of 53 women decided they would be the ones to change that. They launched the Lord Dufferin chapter of the Imperial Order Daughters of the Empire, IODE for short. Their goal? Bringing a hospital to Orangeville. A quick note about IODE. It began in New Brunswick in 1900 as a women-led group that supported British colonial ideals and the war effort. It also dabbled in white supremacy, and some members believed that a woman's place should be within the home. I trust we can all agree those are terrible ideologies, but the organization has changed a lot since those early days. In fact, the I now stands for inclusive. The group tells me its members held a wide range of beliefs that were common at the time, and the current organization has an entirely new charter that dates back to 1968. That's a lot. Oh, it's getting louder. By 1911, the Lord Dufferin IODE chapter had raised $6,300. That's around $160,000 in 2023 money. They bought a house and spent the rest of the funds turning it into a healthcare center. It opened in October of 1912 at the corner of 1st and 2nd here in Orangeville. It kept growing throughout the years, and today this property stands as Lord Dufferin Center Retirement Residence. IODE ran the hospital until 1954 when a community hospital board took over the management. It's since merged with other health providers, and today the modern-day hospital is part of Headwaters Healthcare Center. Orangeville was growing. It was bound to get a hospital at some point, but the efforts of these women certainly sped up that process. And it saved lives, too. One of the first patients at the hospital was a railway worker who got hurt on the job. He would later tell a newspaper that without a hospital this close, quote, "I would have had no chance whatever for recovery," unquote. The hospital in Orangeville was one lasting legacy from the railway tragedy, but whatever became of the Horseshoe Curve? The Toronto Grey and Bruce line wasn't the only one between Orangeville and Toronto. There was also the Credit Valley Railway, which, like the TG&B, had merged with the Canadian Pacific Railway. The Credit Valley route was longer but far gentler than the notorious Horseshoe Curve, so the CPR sent most of its trains on that track instead. In 1933, crews started ripping up the old TG&B, but the railway would claim one last victim. Two men were driving near Mono Road. They weren't paying much attention to the railway. After all, it was supposed to be abandoned and all the warning signs were down. But the tracks were still there. As they drove across, their car got hit by the very train that was pulling up the rails. Here at the Horseshoe Curve, much of the original rail bed has been filled in and leveled out and is since overgrown. But there are still some hints of railway heritage in this area. This road, which runs next to the crash site, carries the name Horseshoe Hill Road. That's all thanks to the efforts of one person who is passionate about saving this history.
The Region Appeal and Town of Caledon came up with the idea that they needed to give all the numbered roads names. One thought was to name Third Line to Dixie Road, but a neighbor in the area, Don Naylor, thought that we could maybe persuade them to name it Horseshoe Hill Road in memory out of the Horseshoe Curve train wreck. So it became the Horseshoe Hill Road back around the mid-80s.
If you take a look from above, the scar from the old Horseshoe Curve still cuts across this landscape. It's not much, but it's helped to keep the memory of that tragedy alive as part of Canada's living history.
Video games are usually considered an entertainment pastime, but tonight we'll look at how they can be used to help process grief and loss.
There is no right way to process loss, but we keep telling people there is.
Grief in video games is not something that is talked about in conjunction a lot.
Maybe when you do lose a person in real life, like you're not completely unprepared for it.
Every young person who comes into my office these days, I will ask, what are you playing?
There's all sorts of fun games that help me feel like I'm able to keep my brain in order, even if I feel like I'm floundering in real life.
I'm a Toronto-based video game developer and artist, most known for creating A Mortician's Tale. One of my biggest interests is the intersection of death and video games. When I was about 10 years old, there was a kid in my class and her mother who passed away in like a very tragic accident. And I went through like a pretty long period of separation anxiety with my own mom and dealing with pretty severe death anxiety. And for me, playing The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which is a game, if you're not familiar with it, is very much about death. The whole premise is that there's a moon, it's going to crash into the earth in 3 days, and using like time jumping mechanics, you're trying to save the world from the moon crashing into the earth. And seeing how different people react was really weirdly therapeutic for me.
So our lives are made up of stories with a plot and themes and parameters that often guide and will dictate who we are and what our identity is. And so a person will come in, perhaps in this case, saying, my partner died. It is devastating. I can't get out of bed in the morning, and I will never go to work again. Life will never, ever be the same. That would be an example of a single story that is dominating a person's experience. There are always multiple storylines co-occurring alongside the dominant story, and we can inquire about those alternative storylines, and perhaps through the conversation make those bigger and more substantial in a person's life, and maybe even have those outcompete the dominant story. So a person comes out of the relationship with someone like me much more immersed in an alternative storyline that is more preferred to them.
I'm the author of an editorial I published a few years ago called Grieving Through Gaming. When we went to that hospice after my brother died, it was very not tailored to me as an 11-year-old boy. He was 3 years older. He passed away by a heart attack. No one really knows what happened. It was just sort of a random event, but yeah. Probably 30% of what we spent all of our days doing was playing video games. But it was weird not to have him just around, or he'd be like, 10 minutes till my turn. I could sort of picture him there and like, just something to tie me to him after he was gone.
Not long ago, a friend of mine passed away suddenly, and he passed away by his own hand, unfortunately. And while we were helping his family clear out his home, came across a lot of his old classic video games.
This was a piece of him that I could save, that wasn't lost. When I was younger, a lot of single-player games were actually multiplayer games. You'd play them single-player, but you'd be on your friend's couch while they played, or while you played. I really wanted to play these games with my friend. I'll never get the chance to. But maybe I can still kind of play those games with him, and other people can share in that experience with me. First game I played, save files were there. We played through it on a fresh save, and then we went back and replayed the ending of his save to be like, well, where was he at this point? The next game I put on, turned it on, all the save game files were empty. That caught me so off guard that I felt like I'd failed him, that I had lost a piece of him. And I think the way I got around that was thinking, well, if we were playing this game fresh, if I was playing this game fresh with my friend and it was a brand new game, we'd have to start from scratch somewhere.
One of the things I do is I do video game assisted therapy, wherein I take video games and I sit with a client and we play video games. I had a client, the very first one I ever did video game therapy with. He came in and 5 sessions, that's 5 hours. Did not share anything. He refused because he did not want to be there. That's it. And so I'm like, would you be interested in playing video games? And within 5 minutes of playing, he told me more about how he was doing, how he was feeling than the previous 5 sessions combined.
As a narrative therapist, I'm interested in multiple things. I'm interested in a person's experience of the game as a resiliency. I'm interested in the meaning a person makes of the game. I'm interested in the community that is developed around gaming.
Not every video game is like an isolated experience. For example, Dark Souls is considered like one of the hardest games in the universe, right? It kind of redefined genres of action games. But even in Dark Souls, you can leave messages for other players, and when they play their game, they see it. Whether they're joke messages or like, hey, good luck, or hey, there's an enemy up ahead, like warning messages, kind of creates a sense of community even though you're not directly talking to that person.
People will often talk about the funeral was so social and there were so many people there. It was so good just to go back to my community of people online after that huge day and not talk about it. Or immerse myself in the fantasy of it. And so this is people actively responding to the difficulty through accessing the game. We in the West are not very good at navigating death and loss. and so after the person has heard, I'm so sorry, for the 50th time, it can be really powerful to reach out to an online community of trusted members and get something different.
Video games oftentimes are the only thing they can use to help, to calm down, to feel relaxed, to feel in control, because you're controlling somebody on the screen. You're controlling the gameplay. And when it comes to grief and loss, that is so important because you have people that have chronic grief. They don't know what to do with it.
So I got to learn more things about my friend by loading up his save points and seeing where he was in the game. I would set a very prescribed time that I would play. I would play on, say, I think it was Tuesdays and Sundays, which kind of became kind of like my therapy sessions to give myself the space and time to grieve my friend, to really take some time to not just focus on the fact that he passed away, but to celebrate him. And being able to share that experience both with people who knew him and complete strangers, I think we all found a little bit of catharsis.
It gives you an opportunity to just engage your brain and just do something. And then through that something, you can have a memory, like, I don't know, maybe a character in a game reminds you of the person you've lost, or an environment reminds you of a place you went with them.
Often the camera is what we call a first-person camera. So the camera is like your perspective. Another method that we use is like silent protagonists, right? So like a Mortician's Tale, you have a character that you're controlling, but there's no dialogue options. The protagonist doesn't say anything. So even though, I'm not a little elf boy running around Hyrule, I can still project my feelings onto this character because they don't have a preset personality. There's so many games where you have a character, but you can also customize them, how they look, how they act, what kind of things they do, what their personality is. So if you have this like badass lady who's not afraid of anything, maybe that's like a really cathartic thing to play as like a kid. To be like, yeah, that could be me.
You have people that like to play the bad guy, and they'll play the bad guy in a video game and they enjoy it, and then they play the good guy, and then they can play around with it. They can have that freedom to explore the video game, to become whatever they want to be.
I've worked with lots of people in the LGBTQ community, and that was one of the areas where they first explored another gender, or a non-binary identity, or a different look, or a different voice, and then explored through the game who they were, and explored also responses to who they were in online communities. And it has been a godsend for so many young people exploring alternative identities.
You're going to be treated differently because you're experiencing this thing. You can just have that experience that isn't tied to your grief, because especially early on, everything is going to be tied to your grief. Because even if you are going to counseling, even when you come home, you're still going to be a bereaved person.
The emotions are real. The connections to a virtual character is just as real as a connection to a physical person.
Sometimes it sneaks up on you. I remember I bought this one game called Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. One of them, the older one had dark hair, the younger one had blonde hair. and they were about the same heights as us and the same ages, roughly. And that's the reason why I picked it up. But it has this amazing feature where you have the one controller, but you play both brothers at the same time with each joystick. And the reason why they did that is because grief is debilitating, and it can make even the simplest things very difficult to do.
There's a couple of games that stood out for me in both the past and present day. Like right now I'm playing a game called Baldur's Gate 3. Every time I play that game for an hour or more, something surprises me because the characters surprise me. I am so invested in these characters that do not exist that I get teary when they tell me like that they're worried that the weird ticking time bomb in their chest is going to go off, but it's okay because they know when they go, they'll be with me.
There are video games that do have this kind of, we call it permadeath. A character or an NPC will die, and that's it. You lose that character for the rest of the game. So a really good example of this is the Mass Effect series. If you do certain actions in that game, those characters can die, and they're gone. And so those kind of choices, when you make them, it's kind of almost like a safe way to practice grief. Like you're still grieving for this thing, even though it's not like a real person or a pet.
When you play a video game, the video game character usually has a tragic story. Let's take Breath of the Wild, Zelda. He starts off being the champion of the princess. He has friends, he has an entire castle behind him, he has everything. And then one day he loses it all. It's all gone. And he wakes up 100 years later, and then you have the start of the game. You take that on as a persona, and you absorb it, and you recognize that no matter how big bad things get, you can stand back up, you can rebuild.
If you have that sort of voice in the back of your mind that's saying, you know, you should probably get off your ass and do something else, then it can sort of, I guess, kneecap what you're doing to heal yourself. It isn't just a distraction.
One of our goals with this game was to be as accurate as possible with things like cremation and burial and embalming, while also trying to find this line of like what is kind of palatable for people. We made the game, you know, very stylized. The people are very exaggerated, almost cartoony. So you're seeing the actual processes of embalming and cremation, but it is a bit more palatable because there's not like blood and guts, and it doesn't look like a real person. It wasn't our intention to make an educational game. It was just wanting to be accurate so that people can maybe, this is their first time understanding like what goes into a burial or cremation. And so then, you know, a year or so after playing the game, when someone they know died, they're able to be like, okay, well, I know what goes into a burial, and we can make those choices based off of that knowledge. And I think that by being honest, by understanding things, being more open to learning about these things, it becomes less scary, and we can make our decisions for ourselves and our loved ones so that when someone does die, we're prepared.
I might ask something like, you know, I know it's been so hard for you to get by through this, but were there ever stories about how your grandmother got by? Yeah, they used to do these sewing circles, and they would get together and talk about things, and wait a second, maybe that really helped them get by. So those are things that can be rediscovered. The other part of responding to the loss of ceremony around death and dying is the construction of new ceremonies. Isn't the world of video games ripe with possibility around that?
In 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons came out like a week after we all went into lockdown for COVID. Some of the furniture you can get are gravestones. And what people started to do, brand new to this game, were creating graveyards on their island. And that sounds creepy, but all these examples that you would see on Twitter were less about it being like creepy, Halloween-y, spooky, and more about creating a space to plant flowers or to grieve someone. And that was especially poignant during this time where we couldn't go outside, we couldn't have funerals, there's no grief, there's nothing of the sort in that game, but to see them using that as a tool for the grief is very beautiful.
I remember I made my mom play a game called Life is Strange. It's one of those games that sort of sneaks grief in there because you play as a girl whose best friend lost her dad, and so you're sort of like the support person. It's an opportunity for that older generation to not only connect with a video game, but they can connect with their children. One thing I've experienced with my parents is that our grief processes were like entirely different. Losing a child and losing a brother, you experience these people in different ways, but just doing something together sort of just can just bring you together for that.
I guarantee you there's a video game out there for everybody, including the people that are like, video games are a waste of time, they're only for little children, you know? And I think a lot of that is on us as an industry. We're really bad about making things more accessible to a wider audience. The Wii was the first console where they showed families, older people, moms, little girls, all playing this game.
You get to play and try new things and critical think, and all these processes now get to place on video games. I still need free play. As an adult, I still need free play. Playing is incredibly important to everything we do.
A lot of these games that my friend was playing were really long games, like dozens of hours to complete. The very first game I beat was one of those games, and it had a really long, convoluted story with lots of love, loss, evil villains, etc. But what really got me at the end was when the credits rolled, because that was the end. That was it. It was done, and I didn't want it to be done. By that point, I didn't want to leave this world behind, and it felt like I was almost closing a chapter of my friend in that process.
Thanks a bunch. Cheers.
But being able to share that with the audience and talk that through with them as well, he's not really ever going to be gone for me or for the people that knew him, as long as we keep his memory in our heads.
Finally tonight, we'd like to correct the record. On Monday, May 6th, in a discussion about calls for the disbanding of the Thunder Bay Police Service, we stated that they had declined our invitation to participate. In fact, we did not hear back from the Thunder Bay Police Service in time for the recording of this segment. We have invited representatives from the police service and the Thunder Bay Police Service Board to appear on the agenda at a later date for equal time. Now, tomorrow on the program, what does Ontario's film and television sector need to bounce back? We'll let you know. I'm Steve Paikin. Thanks for watching TVO, for joining us online at tvo.org, and we'll see you again tomorrow.